many, many years, we worked primarily with wood. That was our material of choice. What we're showing is Boral's new TruExterior trim. If you do exterior trim, I think this is a product that you really want to take a look at. It really changes the game when it comes to exterior applications. Now we know that there are some drawbacks in working with wood. You have to make sure that when you're working with wood that you always seal your end grain, that you've got it primed on all sides, you back prime, and you provide for water management. If you don't manage the water when you're dealing with any type of a wood on the exterior, you will have issues with it holding paint. You're going to have issues with swelling, with wood movement. Next that came to the market that really is interesting is the PVC market. PVCs are good for exterior use because they conquered the problem of not being able to put wood down to the ground. You've got to keep wood and reservoir type materials at least 6 inches away from the ground. However, with PVC trim, one thing you need to be aware of is that it has a linear coefficient of expansion and contraction, and it has to do with temperature. At a colder temperature, the material is contracted along its long length. If you're installing it, say 40 degrees, and then the temperature goes up to 70, 80 degrees, this will considerably grow. It's going to grow in its length. And so you have to allow for expansion and contraction. One other issue that you need to be aware of too is that you can't paint it a dark color. If you paint it a dark brown or a black, this will be problematic on the exterior of the home because of that coefficient of thermal expansion. So those are the things that you have to watch for when you're working with that. However, Boral has been able to manufacture a product using fly ash. Now, fly ash is a byproduct of coal. When they burn coal, you end up with fly ash, and most of that ends up in a garbage dump, at a disposal somewhere. By recycling this material and using special polymers, they have been able to form boards out of it, trim boards. That's Boral TruExterior trim. Some of the properties of the Boral trim that are really, really neat. Number one, it does not absorb moisture. It is termite and rot proof. The termites don't like it. There is no wood fiber whatsoever in the material. Therefore, it does not absorb any moisture. It's not going to be subject to decay. So you can use this in ground contact without any problem at all. The other nice thing about it is because it doesn't absorb moisture, it's going to hold the paint. What about expansion and contraction? Does it expand and contract over time? The amount of expansion and contraction is very, very minimal. So that allows you now not to have to worry so much about fastening. Now the way you'll get it from Boral, this is their pre-prime finish. So this is material that we've just turned into a window frame. The siding here, this is also Boral trim. This is 1-bys that have been run through a molding machine, and it's turned it into a shiplap siding. This is a relatively new product for them now, is a 2-by material. It's pretty hard to get exterior trim grade material in 2-by. So this is their new 2-by material. They have 5/8 inch beat board, 1-by boards. So there's a lot of versatility that you have here. And some people have asked, well, fly ash, well, how does that work? Is it like cutting cement board? It's not at all like cutting cement board. Number one, all of your tool cutters, whether it's a saw, router, should be a carbide blade. Use a carbide blade, you'll get plenty of life out of it. So let's go through a couple of the details, things that you can do with it. Number one, cutting. In order to cut it, I'm just going to use a regular carbide blade saw. And that's the core of the material. If I were to soak this in water and then cut it, the water will not penetrate to the interior core of the Boral. So it's a really durable product. But it cuts just like you would any typical type of trim that you have. Take a look at our window frame that we made. This is all Boral TruExterior trim. Just to give you an idea, we pre-assemble all of our trim pieces. One of the advantages of using the Boral, there's a couple of things that there's an advantage to. Number one, you see these flat surfaces. If you were to do this in traditional wood joinery, you really can't have flat surfaces on exterior wood because the water will sit on top. And if water gets into that material, if you don't back prime everything, that's when it starts to drive the paint off of it. If the wood stays wet, then what you end up with is internal rot. It begins to rot out. Pocket screws and a polyurethane glue is how we did our joinery. Because Boral does not absorb any moisture at all, All I need to do is just a nice butt joint here. This was glued and screwed from underneath. The crown molding on the top, we had a local mill who runs molding. They ran the crown molding first. You can get any details you want through your mill shops. A lot of yards are beginning to do that and offer that service to people. So that's pretty much the joinery techniques, and we'll show you how to do a couple of those. What I'd like to do now is just I'm going to route a piece. And if you're used to using exterior wood, depending on the grain of the wood and what you're working with, you'll often have to approach maybe 2 or 3 passes with a router to get a really good clean edge. I'm going to do this in just one pass. Keep a constant feed rate. I'm not pushing it too hard, but I'm doing this in one pass. And you can see it leaves a really nice finished edge ready to be primed and painted. So routing it is not really an issue. It works just like your typical wood might. As far as joinery goes, there's a couple of options. If you're familiar with the pocket screws, you can pocket screw your joints together. The reason that pocket screws are really good, when you put a pocket screw joint together, you glue it and then pocket screw it. You can put it right into service. You don't have to worry about setting it off to the side and clamping it for a period of time. The pocket screw holds that joint together, then the glue sets and it's solid. I'm going to do a mortise and tenon joint here. I've got a couple of registration marks I put on my piece. Line it up. Now this is what's called a domino. You can see the mortise that we have. Here's our tenon. It's a slip tenon. We're going to put it in, and these should register the face of my material. And there's a really nice joint, nice good alignment on your face registration. If you want to put this into service right away and not clamp it for a period of time, put a couple of pocket screws in the back. You can put it right on the wall. What I'm going to do is just show you how to fasten Boral exterior trim. One of the nice things about it, you can install it with a regular nail gun. And I've made a couple of stile and rail panels for it, but it works so well. And it's just a matter of nailing on the exterior. Exterior, you could use either screws, you could use nails, and 2 foot on center is really all you need to do to hold this material on. It's a really nice product to use because you don't have to worry about the rot, the water cycling, and expansion and contraction is going to be non-existent. Thanks for watching.